Tanekomara. My name is Sage Blake. I'm a wanderer, storyteller, artist immature, and for the longest time, I have never played a Paper Mario game. Technically, that still applies, but the main reason why I bring this up is this is Tales from Alteria. It's an indie project whose Kickstarter was last month, actually, in March. And yeah, technically it failed its Kickstarter, only getting about 10% of its total goal of $10,000. I still want to take a look at it and give my honest opinions on it, because there are a few things wrong with this, I will say that much. But I do like the product that I've played, and I generally want to give my thoughts on it. Settings menu is relatively simple, but right off the bat, one of the bigger problems that you're going to be encountering is that some of the buttons are actually kind of awkward to hit. The problem is twofold. One, if you decide to use the mouse, and that's always a legitimate solution in this case, then the actual hitbox of the button itself doesn't exactly cover the entirety of the button. It covers only the brown edges of it, which can be pretty awkward to click on, even if you have good dexterity. And other than that, the indicator for which button you're currently highlighting is relatively hard to see. It's a little brick of white outlines on the finger itself, which is relatively difficult to notice. But when you finally get into the game itself, this overworld here looks fairly good, all things considered. Characters move well, the background doesn't look too bad. I do muddle a bit here with the footage. Technically, you're supposed to advance past this NPC, whose name is Coffee, in order to get that little panorama view, but for whatever reason or another, it worked a little differently. It's also important to note that this entire footage is going to be a kind of a smash cut of several different runs, because there are some annoying glitches and bugs in this pre-alpha area that I'm taking a look at. If I remember correctly, this is the demo that was released as part of the Kickstarter advertisement. So if you want to take a look at it, feel free to look up Tales from Alteria on itch.io. It's actually where I found this game in the first place. Little, tangent. But anyway, while in the overworld here, we can have Jeeve and Jayla, Fox twins here, jump. And for record, Jayla's the older one, the sister, the one with the beret and the tie. She's an actress, well, aspiring actress anyway. Whilst Jeeve, her younger brother, is kind of a bookworm, kind of aloof. But regardless, the two of them happen to be in this city when it ends up in lockdown, and as a result have to do a bit of, or at least in the terms of this demo here, muddling around just to figure out, well, what exactly they can do and can't do in the city. One of those items happens to be a little errand from Coffee, the NPC from before, who wants us to get some ingredients together so she can start her business. Simple thing, really, but of course, nothing is ever that simple. Also, hard roast to Jayla here from this NPC. Ouch. I mean, really now. She's trying to land a part somewhere. It just so happens that there's a lockdown, so she can't really do all that much. Rude. You also might notice that I'm throwing this little gun-like thing around every so often. I'm sorry for that. It's assigned to a button. I don't know what it does. Supposedly, it's a way of interacting with the environment, but I have found zero ways to interact with said environment outside of hitting E to, well, interact. And that's another thing I want to get into, the button placements for this game. The 7 buttons that you're going to be using are E, S, D, F, Z, X, and C. And to an extent, V as well. But the game doesn't explain what X does. By the way, X is cancel for certain menus and whatnot. And yeah, I feel like it's kind of a flaw that the accompaniment README doesn't explain the controls as well as it should, but hey, well, you do what you can, right? Also, talking to this particular NPC right here glitches the game to the point that you can't move. I don't know why, but talking to certain NPCs just jams your character in place and you can't seem to move no matter how much you try mashing the buttons. So we're gonna cut. Now let's see what exactly this wash tub has in store for us. Whoop! Yeah, as it turns out, 1, it's a spring, 2, it leads into a battle. I don't know why, I don't know how, but somehow it does. And in battle, each of the twins has 4 different commands that they can perform. There's the basic attack, there's this thing, which is tricks, or your special moves, your items, and you can run from battle. But this isn't the time to run, this is the time to fight! Let's show off the battle system, shall we? In terms of the tricks that characters can perform, Jace has 2, specifically, and Jayla has 3. Each of them are, well, if you're familiar with Paper Mario and that Mario and Luigi, then you know for certain that they operate on button prompts. Either hitting the button with good timing, or just generally executing a sequence of button commands like so. And I'm very bad at it. It doesn't exactly help that you don't get enough time, at least for the ones that require you to input a specific sequence, to figure out not only which button you need to press, but also the timing for pressing that button sometimes is a little whack and just doesn't register what button you press. It could just be me on that one, it could just be the game. But again, it's a pre-alpha, so I wouldn't expect it to be perfect. And let's try again with this technique here. Okay, that one I can kinda get. For that one specifically, and also for one of Jayla's attacks, I believe it's take 5, you have to hit the button when it gets into the red area, and you deal damage. Our opponent here also takes an action after each of our twins takes one action themselves, and you can tech the hit via hitting the C button with good timing. Sometimes it doesn't exactly work, sometimes it does, most of the times it does. But regardless, this battle isn't a hard one by any means, and it's a nice way of figuring out the battle system and its little nuances. But I wish I could get some of those techniques correctly. Also, showing off the menus here, specifically healing. I am purposely using the mouse here. It's a little funky with the buttons. For one reason or another, you can select one of the items with the keyboard controls, but you can't select any of the twins to heal, which kinda blows. It's been 8 days since I talked to Pigguard here, and I can switch between twins, but I still can't move. God damn it. So let's try another battle here, and see if I can get this, these techniques right. I know for the basic attack, you just need to hold down the button until it gets all the way down to the end, and that's about it. For the... and... shoot. I got one of them at least. That's better than what I do normally. Normally, I'd end up struggling with even just the first button command. Let's try another technique with Jayla here. Have some papers! It's actually kind of hilarious that one of her attacks literally is, here's my resume. I can relate. Now, if we do some immediate exploring in here in this first area, we can actually pass by these buildings over here on the left and right, and we get a dynamic camera pan. These are going to be all sorts of places, and so will various NPCs that you can talk to as well. And glitches like the transparent, translucent-ish building. I find it highly amusing that, 1, a raccoon here is building up a shop for badges, and 2, you forgot the main items that go in those badges. Way to go, Noodle! I mean, seriously, that's like trying to run a grocery store without actually having fruits and vegetables. Shameful and deplorable. It also gets you no money. There are other NPCs in the world that you can talk to as well. There are these little Lorby animal things. And each of them are... well, they work, and they work fairly well, unlike most of the... well, okay, 2 maybe NPCs in the entire demo area, which is honestly a good rate of success. And another little item that needs to be addressed, there are a lot of dynamic camera pans in areas, and some of these are a little funky. I mean, if you hold down a direction to go into one of these areas and don't expect a camera pan, you're going to be immediately having your direction changed, just because you held the button and, oh hey, the camera decides to flip. Many early games used to do this, and it was annoying there, it's annoying here. I would honestly prefer it if there were less dynamic camera angles, or otherwise that it locked your currently held button until the camera pan fully switches, or until you let go. Just makes for a more streamlined experience. Continuing along the path here, we've got yet another NPC, a lamb actually, and a couple branching pathways, one of which leads to the objective and City Hall over that way, and the other, behind here, leads to a little secret. Well, I say secret, but in actuality, it's one of the very few instances of platforming in the game, and lol, you can only advance the text when you're right next to the guy, and otherwise it just remains on screen. Right, on the right here, we have a bunch of pallets stacked up that you can just jump on up to the pile of bones up there. In previous builds of the game, you were able to get stuck in the middle of that bunch of pallets, but in this game, instead, you can get stuck next to the pallets. I have tried every which way to get myself out of here, but unlike with the center, where you could finally just jump out, you can't do that here. It seems we're screwed, huh, sis? Yeah, seems so. Well, doggammit. Alright, let's try this button prompt again, shall we? I can't keep screwing this up like this, right? And... Of course I mess it up. Thanks, game. I really appreciate this. Well, at least I could try this again using Jayla. Ugh, of course. Well, you know what they say, bad things always come in twins. Speaking of bad things, I decided to use items a little later on in this battle, and as it turns out, there is no way to designate which twin is being affected with an item, or if there is, it's not visible. Lovely. Well, on the bright side, I also found out another oddity. You could still use techniques even when you can't pay the cost. If you wanted, just spam the same techniques over and over again at zero cost or anything, which makes the basic melee attack absolutely pointless. Cool! Also cool, I managed to get my first button prompt down. Jeez, that only took like for freaking ever, didn't it? Unfortunately, the moment that you get to this point, you're pretty much locked into what technique that you can select. That I've noticed, you can't exactly select any other techniques if you get to that point, except for the last one that the icon was on, aka the last technique you tried to use. But, like it matters, honestly, because this guy is gonna get absolutely mooned by my next attack. It's been 35 days since I've been next to Hamlin P. Bacon over here, and I did find out that, coming through the menus, the badge system that's supposedly in this game that allows you to modify the HP, SP, and other techniques of Jeev and Jayla also doesn't work. I mean, I could click on these buttons here for the badges, and theoretically, you're supposed to pay bones in order to be able to equip them to either one of the two twins. But you can't. Kind of a running trend with this thing, isn't it? Oh well, guess I'm kind of boned. I also found this strange glitch while in battle. For one reason or another, if you try meddling with the menus a little too much, and don't have enough SP to execute techniques, you can get into a situation where the menu permanently remains on screen, and that persists even outside of battle. Someone didn't get the memo. You're not supposed to be here! Like, what? I mean, I guess we could officially say that I'm now serving up glitches. Okay, real talk, I have literally done nothing productive all day. If you're sensitive to motion sickness, I apologize. These next 20 or so seconds are not going to be pretty to look at. And it fully exemplifies my point that there really should be a cutoff or something to prevent this type of thing from happening. Also, I've gone ahead and tested this stack of pallets here. You can't make this jump up to the next one for one reason or another. Maybe it's just the jump height being off or something, I don't know. But this is me trying to hold up and jump, and it's just not working. Even if I try to jump individually with the twins, they just won't get up there. Lovely. Guess those bones up there are just going to be permanent relics of the past. Moving on, there's a little alcove that you can get to on the way to City Hall here, you know, in between these two specific buildings. There are some bones here, just lying about if you want them, and also a weird camera angle, but other than that, there is absolutely nothing else, which makes me start to think why it exists. This little stump here that you could jump onto, you know, just for a little comparison on height differences, and generally gives you an idea as to how high you jump in the first place. It's about that high, not too bad. And also, this wash tub here, for whatever reason, you can only initiate battle by jumping at it from the right side. Any other direction, and you just go flying off of it to parts unknown. Speaking of parts unknown, I'm getting better at this, and I feel like my skills are starting to develop in parts unknown. I still wish I can get more than 2. By now you're probably sick of me seeing all these battles, rapid fire, and honestly, I think Jayla is too, judging by her animation here when she gets hit. Ugh. Very work in progress. But anyway, I mostly have this clip here just to show off how running away works. And in that, you're essentially mashing the C button rapid fire until you completely fill up the gauge. There is quite a lot of resistance to it. Kinda almost like the game is encouraging you not to run away from fights in the first place. Good to know, game. Nice life lesson. If you pick your battles, see them through to the end. As a last item here, finishing up our little tour of the only area in the game, we have City Hall here. Normally, you can't fight City Hall, and you also can't enter it either. But other than that, that's almost everything that's within this demo, other than the many transparent buildings. We also have our last NPC in the game that we can actually interact with, the mother of Jeev and Jayla. As it turns out, she runs a little tavern at the far side of town. Near City Hall, it seems. Okay. And apparently the two twins are kind of miscreants with, you know, just general life stuffs. Apparently it's been a while since they have last been in town, too. Which, come on, guys. Always pay attention to your family. Family takes care of your own. Little life lesson on that one. They also get a couple more story bits here, specifically guiding you to the next area that you need to go to, but you can't actually get to that area. See, there's an open field coming up that's just absolutely loaded with NPCs and bones and whatnot, and you can interact with a few things here and there, like the springy wash tubs. But other than that, and the blatant subway in the background, there's absolutely nothing else in this area. So I figure I can leave this little look at of this demo here, specifically because there's nothing else. So with that, I think I'm just gonna return to the subway. Till again, ne? Okay, I think I finally got my hands on this stupid button prompt thing. Let me give it a try quick. Left, right, Z, left. Oh! My eternal issue. If it says left, I will always hit right. Maybe I could try it with Jayla next. Yeah, that's not as much success as I thought. Cut, that's a wrap.